So let's just be honest for a second. How many times today have you actually picked up your phone or, found yourself scrolling almost on autopilot? Maybe not even sure why. I think we all do it. And yeah, we've heard the warnings for years about screen time, right? Too much is bad. But what if it's way more than... What if our phones, and especially social media, have genuinely, profoundly, particularly since, say, 2012, welcome to... Today our mission is to really pull back the curtain. We're going deep into the stats, the brain science, the stuff that's frankly quite startling. Trying to understand what one expert calls the great rewiring, something happening, well, right now, the detailed sources you've shared with us, trying to grasp this shift, not just for kids, but for all of us.
That's exactly right. And this isn't just another one of those kids these days kind of panics. The evidence we have now is, well, it's documented. It's global. It points to a societal change on a scale we maybe haven't really grasped before. The impacts are genuinely surprising, how deep these links go between our digital habits and, well, how we think and feel.
Okay, let's unpack that then, because one of the most striking things looking at the material is how abrupt. You've pointed to 2012 as this pivotal year. What exactly happened then? Why 2012?
Well, the timing is what's so fascinating and really quite precise about 2012. Before that year, you look at the graph, teenage depression, anxiety, relatively stable, right? But in 2012, it's like a switch flip. That's the year smartphone ownership for teens breaks 50%. And at the same time, you have Instagram bringing in infinite scroll.
Yes.
Snapchat making disappearing messages normal. Jonathan Haidt in The Anxious Generation, he lays this out really clearly. He shows this spike in mental health issues.
Yeah.
I mean, huge jumps. Teenage depression rates just exploded. It was 145% increase for girls, 161% for boys. And suicide among younger teen girls, that jumped a shocking 67%. And this wasn't just one country. It was timed precisely across different...
So it wasn't like previous tech panics, like early Facebook or broadband.
Exactly. Those caused shifts, sure.
Yeah.
But nothing like this scale, and definitely not this kind of global, almost synchronized timing. It was different.
Right. So Gen Z basically becomes the first generation ever to go through puberty, those really formative years, with a smartphone constantly there.
Yeah, essentially. And what does that mean developmentally?
Well, it marks this really profound shift, doesn't it? Childhood moves from being, play-based out in the world to phone-based overnight almost. Navigating those critical years, figuring out who you are, social skills, it's all suddenly happening primarily through a digital screen.
And the sheer amount of time involved, the data you've gathered, it's kind of staggering. Teens on screen 6 to 8 hours a day. And about 5 of those hours just on social media feeds.
That's the average, yeah.
I mean, compare that to sleep, school, time with family. It's immense. How is that actually impacting their brains while they're still developing? So connecting this back, Haidt calls it the great rewiring. It sounds dramatic, but it's about a fundamental change in brain development. Instead of, rich, complex, real-world experiences being the main driver, it's this artificial stimulation taking over. And neuroscience research, this isn't speculation, it's in peer-reviewed journals, it confirms it. Frequent social media use actively changes dopamine path. Dopamine's crucial for reward, right? And this constant, intense stimulation builds dependency. It's very, very similar to substance addiction patterns.
How similar?
Well, put it this. The UN estimates about 64 million people worldwide have drug addiction. The estimate for social media addiction patterns, 210 million.
Wow.
The digital attention economy got 3 times the market penetration in just a fraction of the time.
So when people make that comparison, like what cocaine did to the 80s, Instagram did to Gen Z, there's actually a neurochemical basis for that.
Experts are definitely making that comparison. And the mechanisms, yeah, they support it. Which brings us to, well, how? How did this happen? Because it's not an accident. There's a whole psychological framework. It's documented neuroscience, not guesswork. These platforms, they employ neuroscientists, behavioral economists. They know your brain releases dopamine, not just when you get the reward, but mostly in that moment of anticipation, the dopamine feedback loop.
That little pause when you open an app before the like.
Exactly. That slight delay on Instagram or wherever, that's not lag, it's calculated. It's psychological manipulation to maximize that neurochemical hit.
And it gets more sophisticated, right?
Oh, absolutely. They figured out that unpredictable rewards condition behavior much more strongly than predictable. It's called variable ratio reinforcement schedule. Same thing that makes slot machines so compelling. Your brain never knows when the reward is coming, so it stays hooked, anticipating, releasing dopamine with every scroll, every refresh.
So it keeps you coming back.
Constantly. But here's where it gets maybe even more concerning. Unlike drugs, where you might need a bigger dose, social media creates tolerance, but it also escalates the stimulation for you. Content that used to grab you feels boring, so the algorithm feeds you more extreme stuff, more emotionally charged material, just to keep that same neural buzz going. That's algorithmic escalation. The machine learns what triggers you and pushes you towards extremes.
Can you give an example?
Sure, think about kids' content on YouTube. Those super popular channels, they often use what are called supernormal stimuli. Colors brighter than anything in nature, sounds louder, scene changes way faster than our attention naturally shifts. They're basically training developing brains to crave artificial stimulation that the real world just can't match.
And this isn't some hidden secret, is it? I remember Sean Parker, Facebook's first president, back in 2017.
Right, he openly admitted it. He said they knew they were exploiting a vulnerability in human psychology. It points to very deliberate design choices.
Okay, so beyond the addiction side, what's this doing to just how we think, how we process information day to day? I was thinking about that concept, delay discount, choosing the easy scroll now over something important later, like studying or work.
Yes, that's a perfect example of the immediate behavioral shift. But the cognitive impacts run much deeper. The research here is just, undeniable. Our ability to sustain attention has collapsed. Studies are showing attention spans are down like 65% compared to 2003.
65%.
65%. And that's not just, inconvenient. Think about it. Complex human achievements, scientific breakthroughs, art, they all require sustained attention. Brain imaging also shows heavy users have changes, suggesting increased emotional sensitivity. The limbic system gets hyperactive, demanding stronger and stronger stimuli. Plus, think about interruptions. The average person gets something like 192 notifications a day.
Wow, that's one every few minutes if you're awake.
Pretty much. One every 6 to 12 minutes. And each one creates attention residue.
Yeah.
That means even after the interruption, part of your brain stays stuck on whatever it was for up to 23 minutes.
So every buzz isn't just a quick peak, it's like a hidden tax on your focus for them.
Exactly. It fragments your attention constantly.
Which is where things like TikTok and Instagram Reels seem to have perfected this, right? This attention fragmentation technology. That super rapid fire stream of short videos, it trains your brain for constant novelty, instant reward, that cognitive task switching. And then, after scrolling that for a while, everything else feels painfully slow. Reading a book, a long conversation.
Unbearably slow, as you said.
Yeah. I even find myself speeding up YouTube videos now or getting weirdly impatient if Wi-Fi takes like 3 seconds. Is that it? Our attention system getting optimized for this artificial...
That's precisely it. Your brain gets conditioned to a certain pace, a certain intensity. Natural experiences don't match that, so they feel less engaging, less rewarding, and the impact goes beyond just focus. We're seeing effects on memory, literally losing the ability to form lasting memories as effectively.
Oh, so?
Well, think historically. Medieval scholars, they memorized entire books. Today, most of us struggle to recall a phone number without looking it up. Psychologists call it the Google effect. Your brain is less likely to put in the effort to retain information if it knows it can just look it up easily.
But isn't memory just stored?
No, not at all. Memory is the foundation of understanding, wisdom, creativity. When you actually memorize something through effortful recall, your brain integrates it, makes connections, generates insights. There was a recent study, quite interesting, on students using AI writing tools. They showed significantly less neural engagement. The researchers noted participants often couldn't even recall their own AI-generated work minutes later.
Yeah.
Why? Because the brain never did the processing needed for real understanding.
Like the difference between writing notes by hand versus typing.
Exactly that difference.
Yeah.
Handwritten notes consistently lead to better comprehension because the physical act forces a deeper level of neural processing that just typing often bypasses. When you outsource memory to devices, you lose those cognitive steps that turn information into actual knowledge and meaning.
Okay, so attention is fragmented, memory is weaker. What about something even more fundamental, like our sense of self, our identity?
That's another huge area. Social media fosters what's called audience consciousness, this constant low-level awareness that you're being watched, evaluated. So identity development shifts.
Yeah.
It moves away from, say, private reflection and figuring things out internally towards public performance. It becomes about crafting an image for algorithmic approval.
And the research shows this hits girls particularly hard.
Disproportionately, yes. Especially with appearance-focused algorithms, it creates these endless compare and despair cycles. Real life feels drab compared to these curated highlight reels online. We've seen dramatic increases in body dysmorphia alongside this.
And for boys, the challenges look a bit different, but they're there too, often related to seeking that instant gratification.
Yes, often spending more time in digital worlds, maybe video games, pornography, where they get immediate validation or intense stimulation that's hard to match offline. We hear about cases where, say, early exposure to pornography conditions the dopamine system for such high intensity that later real relationships can feel, boring.
That's boring.
Comparatively, yes. Emotional intimacy takes effort. It's slower. It's complex. It becomes cognitively difficult to sustain if you're wired for instant digital reward. So you see young men reporting spending hours daily in digital spaces where they feel competent powerfully, but then struggling to find motivation for school or work or relationships that demand sustained effort without that immediate payoff. The whole question shifts from who am I becoming to how do I look to others online. It can lead to what psychologists call identity foreclosure, settling on an identity prematurely based on external validation.
Which leads to this really strange paradox, doesn't it? We're supposedly the most connected generation ever, digitally.
Yet loneliness rates, especially among young adults, are higher than ever. It's unprecedented.
Fewer close friends, more social isolation, despite hundreds, maybe thousands of online connections.
It's because social media has fundamentally changed how we relate. We're not cultivating friendships in the same way. We're collecting followers. We're not having deep conversations. We're broadcasting updates. And when everything's through a screen, you lose all those crucial nonverbal cues, the subtle facial expressions, the body language, the simple physical presence that builds real trust and empathy.
Real friendship needs vulnerability. But online, it's more about strategic self-preservation.
Exactly. And the algorithms don't reward vulnerability or subtlety. They reward strong react, outrage, envy, loud amusement, not the quiet stuff of deep connection.
And language itself seems to be changing, too. The simplification of how we talk about emotion. Instead of nuanced words like melancholy or contentment, everything becomes weird or cringe or sus or just fire. Are we actually losing emotional vocabulary?
That's precisely what seems to be happening. When your range is limited to these few high-intensity or slang terms, language becomes less able to capture the real spectrum of human feeling. The platforms have also sort of gamified social interact. Likes are currency, followers are status symbols. Engagement metrics matter more than actual understanding.
So relationships look intimate online, but lack depth.
They often lack genuine emotional depth, yes, which also helps explain the social anxiety paradox. Young people might feel totally confident managing complex online drama or their digital persona, but then really struggle with a simple, unscripted face-to-face chat. There's no edit button, no filter, no time delay to craft the perfect response. They become psychologically reliant on those digital buffers.
And the vocabulary point you mentioned, studies showing teens use fewer words now.
Significantly fewer words in daily communication, yes, relying much more on emojis, abbreviation. Compare that to historical figures. Shakespeare supposedly had a working vocabulary in the tens of thousands. We risk raising a generation that knows how to perform friendship online, but struggles to actually experience deep connection offline.
Okay, it's a lot. It sounds pretty bleak. Is it too late? Have we just permanently rewired ourselves in a bad way? Or is there some hope in the sources?
No, absolutely there's hope. That's the crucial message. Your brain has this incredible property called neuroplasticity. It keeps changing throughout your life. The same plasticity that allowed digital overload to reshape your cognitive patterns. You can harness that same power to rebuild focus, depth, and real connection.
What does that actually involve?
It requires something called dopamine rebalance. Essentially, you need to reset your brain's reward threshold. Research on things like dopamine fast, deliberately reducing high stimulation activities for a period, shows it can decrease the anxiety and depression linked to overuse. It helps you rediscover satisfaction in, normal, less intense experiences again. It's about deliberately choosing periods of understanding.
So it's not about throwing your phone away forever?
Not necessarily, no. It's more about conscious rebellion, recognizing these systems are designed to exploit your attention for profit, and then choosing to reclaim control.
Okay, so for you listening right now, what are some real concrete things starting today? Maybe start by creating what you could call analog islands, like make meals phone-free zone. Really practice talking without interrupt. Try using app block, freedom, cold turkey, there are others to create dedicated focus time. Take walks without your phone. Just let your mind wander. That's often where creativity pops up, right? You could practice memory retrieval, like hide your phone for an hour and actively try to recall information without check. Seems small, but it builds that muscle. Read physical things that demand sustain. Take up a project that's not minute. Learn an craft. And maybe the hardest but most important, try doing absolutely nothing stimulate, say 30 minutes a day. No phone, no podcast, sit, thought, let yourself feel bored. Boredom is actually a trigger for...
That boredom part is surprisingly difficult for many now.
I've tried it. It's really hard at first. It highlights that difference.
Right, the difference between passive consumption and active creation. Technology itself isn't inherently bad. It has amazing potential for learning, creating, connecting, meaning. The problem is how current platforms are designed, prioritizing engagement over well-being. So you need to distinguish. Are you passively scrolling TikTok for hours that likely harms cognitive development? Or are you actively learning to code on an interactive site? Or using Duolingo to build a skill? The tech might be similar, but the impact is totally different. One depletes you, the other builds you up.
It's about agency then. Are you directing the tech or is it directing?
Precise. And that applies to AI tools too. Using AI to brainstorm or enhance your writing is one thing. Letting it replace your critical thinking entirely is something else altogether.
And it's encouraging to see some real-world changes starting to happen, right? Policy shift.
Yes, definitely. France banning phones in schools for younger kids. They saw improvements in academics and more face-to-face interaction. The UK's Online Safety Act is bringing in things like age verification, more transparency about algorithms. And even in the US, several states are looking at laws to make companies disable addictive features for minors. So awareness is
It feels like the conversation.
It is. And the ultimate goal here, it isn't just about being more productive or even just happier in the short term. It's really about allowing for the full expression of human consciousness, all its complexity, its potential. Governments are starting to act, companies are feeling pressure, but most importantly, individuals are realizing they can choose how they.
Yeah, this really does go way beyond just, digital wellness trends or detox fads. We're talking about the future of how we think, the quality of our public conversations, the survival of deep thought, maybe even the possibility of real human connection in this increasingly artificial.
And the message needs to be clear. The brain rot generation, as some call it, doesn't have to stay down. It doesn't have to remain cognitively colonized. Liberation starts by recognizing your attention isn't just a commodity to be sold. Your consciousness isn't a product to be optimized by algorithms. Our brains aren't just computers waiting to be programmed. We're human. We have this incredible power to direct our own minds towards what truly matters for our growth and for others.
So the question for you listening now is maybe, will you answer that call? Will you reclaim that control before it's maybe too late to remember who you were before the machine started thinking?